Harry's Wife, part 101.41, The Cut, mocks silly England. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We turn to an article in the Mirror written by Bradley Jolly. The Mirror tends to find itself in a supportive role of the Sussexes, undoubtedly sucking at the teat of PR puff publication money. The article, which I'm going to take you to, provides you with an instructive view as to the necessity, once again, that Harry's wife has to try and counter adverse publicity, because adverse publicity to a narcissist is a threat to control. It also demonstrates that there remains a number of people who are hard of understanding as to what is actually driving Harry's wife's behaviours and why people dislike her. Let's get first into the article. US magazine mocks silly England for list of bizarre reasons to hate Harry's wife. Now, it's quite interesting that it's invariably those that seek to defend her that bandy the word hate around. All you need do is, particularly on Twitter, is to criticise Harry's wife in a constructive fashion, and immediately you're labelled a hater. As I mentioned in a video yesterday, observations based upon evidence are not hatred. They are simply observations utilising the evidence. Instead, those that label that as hate truly do not understand what hatred is, and they bandy the word round with gay abandon without fully utilising and understanding what it truly means. The problem is that they start to label behaviours which are entirely appropriate and fair as hate, which of course then means that they will not be taken seriously if they ever do identify behaviour which is truly hateful. But this is something these clowns fail to realise by repeatedly labelling certain behaviour as hate when it's not, of accusing people of being racists when they're not. All they're doing is making a rod for their own backs, or rather, for the people who actually are suffering from the receipt of actual hatred and racism, because it means people are less likely to take it seriously. But these clowns aren't interested in that. All they're interested in is spouting their bile in the moment by accusing people of being haters when they're clearly not. The article states as follows: a magazine in the United States has mocked Brits with a list of peculiar reasons to hate Harry's wife, and they include holding Harry's hand. Now, I very much doubt anybody hates Harry's wife because she holds Harry's hand. Rather, they find the behaviour irritating, immature, childish, and, on the occasions where it's done in certain instances, disrespectful. And that's what they dislike about the behaviour. Also, of course, we know, because you have access to my excellent work, that she holds his hand, not because she loves him, although she thinks that she does, but it's done to control him. And it's publications such as this that fail to understand that it is narcissism driving her behaviour, and they fail to understand that people's reactions to it are either based on recognising that narcissism as a consequence of the excellent work of your glorious narrator here, or just that they see it as inappropriate and immature, and they are allowed to express their view that they think it's silly. That does not mean that you hate Harry's wife. The Cut, which is a publication about life, culture, politics, claim Brits are mad at Duchess of Sussex. Again, this is another thing that's doled out by the Sussex squad to repeatedly say, "Y'all mad at her." No. Most people just hold her in contempt or have dislike for her. Nobody's mad at her. Remember as well, you label that at the Brits. Brits are the bastion of reserve. It takes a Brit 3 scotches to get up to the normal level of interaction with everybody that the rest of the world has. So to suggest that the Brits automatically go into overdrive and madness is preposterous. It takes a hell of a lot to get people worked up, apart from if somebody pushes in a queue. Holly and Mr. Schofield, we're looking at you. That's for another day. The magazine says Harry's wife's critics, were mostly concerned with her decision not to join the family at the Queen's side after news of the monarch's decline in health emerged early on Thursday. Yes, that is a fair concern. The Queen Elizabeth II later died aged 96. The Queen Elizabeth II, it's Queen Elizabeth II, you morons, at Balmoral Castle in Aberdeenshire, Scotland. The Cut's article continues, it didn't take long for the hashtag Go Home Harry's Wife to trend on Twitter alongside accusations that Harry's wife was pretending to mourn for attention after causing the Queen so much pain, even as she and Harry joined William and Kate for a walkabout outside Windsor Castle. Well, those observations are correct. She does pretend to mourn. She's a narcissist, but again, this article can't grasp it, nor does the Cut. And the publication goes on to state every other ridiculous reason people have found to knock Harry's wife, 41, since the sovereign's death. It claims Brits are unhappy the former actress clutched a bouquet of flowers given to her by a mourner in Windsor. The journalist wrote one video shows a royal aide trying to take the flowers over to the rest of the Queen's tributes on Harry's wife's behalf, and she seems to kindly tell him she wants to do it herself. In another video taken shortly after this exchange, a new aide takes bouquets from both Harry's wife and Harry after a brief exchange in which Harry's wife seems to be reiterating that she wants to hold the flowers herself. Apparently, protocol dictates that royals aren't supposed to hold bouquets, which could contain small bombs or other weapons inside. That didn't stop people from calling the mix-up awkward and accusing her of wanting to place the flowers down herself for a photo op. Well, those accusations are relevant and accurate, because we know that as a narcissist these are the things that she will do. We know that the attempt to remove the flowers from her is perceived by her narcissism as a threat to control. We also know that she would triangulate tertiary sources with the flowers for the purpose of a photo opportunity, because her facade is more important than actually behaving herself. Of course, what is interesting is that these observations that have been placed in the Cut and now echoed in the Mirror are being done because someone clearly keeps an eye on social media and has seen the repeated criticisms about this behaviour, and it's rankled. Either Harry's wife or a member of her PR team have seen all the various comments about her behaviour with the bouquet, the hand-holding, the way that she manufactured the hug scenario, and other matters besides. And rather than just move on from it, of course her narcissism can't. And it behooves her to strike back by utilising some of the ill-gotten gains to instruct the Cut, and thus the Mirror, to point out, aren't all these people in England silly little haters for picking up on these details? Look at them, commenting about the handing over the flowers. Look at them, talking about the holding of hands, etc. What a bitter, trivial, pedantic lot they are. And this is, of course, a response to try and nullify the threat to control by belittling these observations. Take it from me, the expert. She is a narcissist, and therefore everything, I repeat, everything that she does when it comes to an interaction or a potential interaction with another human being is governed by her narcissism, as it must seek out the prime aims of control, fuel, character traits, and residual benefits. How do I know this? I'm one myself, of course, but an aware one. My narcissism and my psychopathy have evolved to enable me to understand precisely why I do what I do. And I know that when I have an interaction with another human being, or a potential interaction, I'm governed by the prime aims. As I create this video, I am contemplating all of you listening to it, and therefore I'm guided to provide coherent, interesting, entertaining information to you so that you're controlled by it. You don't feel controlled. You feel informed and entertained, and therefore it's a win-win scenario. But as I create this, I still have in the forefront of my mind that what I provide must be done in order to assert control, because I'm contemplating my interaction with you, my audience. I gain a little bit of thought fuel about thinking about the potential reactions that you will have to what I tell you. I'm not gaining any character traits at this instance. I am gaining the residual benefit of creating views for which I will be paid by YouTube, and, furthermore, the extension of my legacy, which is far more important as more and more people access my work. The point is this. I sit here recording this video, contemplating interactions with my audience. Therefore, the prime aims come into play. Similarly, for Harry's wife, where she's involved with somebody else or is contemplating that, she is governed by her narcissism. She doesn't know that, and it's clear that many of her supporters don't realise this either. And therefore, to try and describe the behaviour of kindly telling him he wanted to do it herself, etc., with regard to the flowers, demonstrates a failure to understand narcissism. The explanations of her behaviour through that prism of narcissism are just that. They're explanations. It's like explaining, why does the lion eat the gazelle? That's the way that it has evolved. That's what it does for the fuel. It isn't being nasty about the lion by saying the lion has killed the gazelle. Of course, if one were to say, ooh, that brutish lion picking on that poor gazelle who's never done anything to anybody in its life, ooh, mean, nasty lion, that's a judgment on the behaviour. It's similarly where people are explaining what she's doing, and I'm explaining it through the prism of the narcissism that she exhibits. It is an explanation. Of course, you all grasp this, but it's important to reaffirm that, just in case some of those hard of understanding might just start to realise. And similarly, journalists such as this, who fail to realise what drives the behaviour. The article continues by stating, the cut article, also states Brits were upset Harry's wife wore a dress during that same appearance outside Windsor Castle. It reads, in the most creative takeaway from the same appearance outside Windsor Castle, a handful of conspiracy theorists have become convinced that a crease on Harry's wife's dress was actually a microphone she wore to help her turn the Queen's funeral into content for her podcast and or Netflix deal. Do they think she doesn't have enough material? Harry's wife and Harry held hands at the end of the service to mark the beginning of the Queen's lying in state, but a minority of people on Twitter suggested this was inappropriate and disrespectful. The Cut story added, while it's true that PDA is generally looked down upon in the royal family, Princess Anne's daughter Zara Tindall also held hands with her husband Mike at the exact same event, something no one seems to have had an issue with. Of course, as you all know, there's a complete distinction. Zara Tindall and Mike aren't narcissists. Harry's wife is, so we explain why she does it compared to why they do it. And also, of course, they weren't in a particular procession, whereas Harry's wife and Harry were. Naturally, the Cut omits that information. It continues, while Harry's wife was shaking hands with mourners gathered outside Windsor Castle last Saturday, several women refused to engage with her, looking down to avoid eye contact, and ignoring Harry's wife's hand when she reached out for a handshake. The women got plenty of support on Twitter, where one user called the person who rejected a handshake her spirit animal. It comes after a Royal Insider Today claimed Prince William and Kate struck a truce with Harry's wife and Harry, but the trust is gone. The Insider said it's really hard to spend time with someone or even to speak openly when you know they're writing a book about you and giving interviews. The trust is gone right now. This whole piece is basically, it could be written, couldn't it, by Harry's wife, who sat there and thought, right, they're criticising me for hand-holding, they're criticising me for being mic'd up, they're criticising me for the flowers incident, they're criticising me in relation to this, that, and the other. Okay, I've made my list, and now I'm going to deal with each and every one of those, saying how silly and awful they all are. And the point is that this article completely misses the point with regard to why these behaviours are commented about. Let's go below the line for a little bit and see what the people who read this article have to say. Ajmez writes, who cares what the magazine thinks? I dislike her, and I'm allowed to dislike her. Stick that in your pipe. Velcro 123. What a load of nonsense, and race has nothing to do with it. It's quite simple. Harry's wife decided to go on Oprah and elsewhere and publicly abuse the royal family and play the victim to make money. She wants the titles as the royal family make her famous and rich, but then criticises them in public and shares stories and gossip. She can't be trusted. That's all there is to it. Nasty woman. Hedgehoggy. Harry's wife has a nasty, vindictive nature, regardless of genetics, and if you say otherwise, you're a sugar, or Rachel herself. Professor MGD. USA is the only place for her now. UK no longer trust her. Trust is like tissue paper. You tear it, sellotape it, but never get it back the way it is. Wise words, young Padawan. What else is commented upon? Darcy123. American newspapers, mags and media do not hire people for their intelligence. Cutting remark about the cut. Evie Jean. More American bile from the woke thinking they're being trendy by writing negative after negative article about the UK. Just disrespectful and not the time for it. Bint Ashur. What injustice do you believe was done to her? The royal family welcomed her with open arms, accorded her privileges not granted to other new daughters-in-law. King Charles footed her clothes bills to the tune of millions of dollars. Yes, millions, in the first year. The people celebrated her wedding in the millions. The press was praising her arrival as a new beginning. She was there for 18 months and did 72 engagements. Show me a business that would give me an opulent lifestyle, and I just get my arse over for 72 engagements in 18 months. Britain is a constitutional monarchy and a democracy. The press and the people are free to speak. One or two journalists may have written articles but were sacked from work. The royal family cannot muzzle the people in the press. What did she want? Take anyone who doesn't like it into the Tower of London and give them a cranial circumcision? It is not that sort of monarchy. She married number 6, and that was her station in the order of things. Every corporation has a pecking order, and she was not the top one. She does not tell the boss what to do. This is not the proms. Everything she complained about at Ooh What? Talkfest was proven wrong. Her son was not entitled to a title until now. Someone speculated about her child's skin tone, normal in every family on the planet. I firmly believe the only person with misgiving and fears her children will be dark was her. She wanted PR marketing children. She has identity issues. The subjects had every right to know all about her pregnancy and access to her children. The subjects keep the monarchy going. No one called her child the N-word. That is so United States. It is a term not common in any other country. She lied through her teeth. No one has ever challenged her claims. Perhaps she suffered an injustice and I don't know about it. Please enlighten me. Tony Margiochi states, hey, cut, we need no help. She's a proven liar that makes things up to aid her perpetual victimhood. Now, swivel. Queen Bee, narcissist. I thought that was understood all around the world. What don't Americans get about what she is? Long and wet. Does anyone really care what a low-level US magazine thinks or says? Maybe they need to apply their rhetoric to their own country because it's going in the third direction anywhere. That gives you a flavour of the observations about her, and notwithstanding that the newspaper itself is pro-Harry's wife, certainly the readers don't accept that. This is an abject example of Harry's wife keeping an eye on the criticism that she faces and then attempting to nullify that threat to control by issuing instructions to basically go through the list of criticisms and pick them off one by one. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.